Okay,
I am
I pressed this
good.
thing.
Here we are again. We're going to try to do this with Mr. Rob Gardner. Rob, say hello.
Hi.
Okay, and everybody should know who he is. Um, some of you were lucky, and on our one broadcast, our very first live chat, I surprised everybody. I didn't tell anyone that I was going to do it, but if you participated in that broadcast, then your name was in the drawing to win one of Rob's prints. So three of you won, Beth and Dewan and Fiona, and one of those arrived yesterday. So hopefully the other two arrived today. So we're going to talk to Rob a little bit about his art and his experiences at the con, if you don't mind, because I know you go to the cons a lot. And
Yeah, I've
yeah,
done a
you're
lot.
very popular at the cons. So my first question for you is, since I have been a fan of yours for a long time, and you were the first artist I reached out to on my page to see if I could post your prints on the page, I asked permission. You have a wide variety of art that you do besides The Walking Dead. So I wanted to know what draws you to that particular medium. Like, what is it about The Walking Dead that made you want to start doing prints and art that is related to the show?
Well, my wife told me about The Walking Dead before it aired, like a year before, said they're having this show about zombies, and I was like, about time. I
Right?
couldn't believe it, that they're finally doing it because we always saw them in movies all the time. And I didn't know if it was based on the comic because I remember the comic. There was a comic called The Walking Dead, and I didn't think that that was, but apparently they did.
It is, yeah.
And I started getting hooked on the show, and then Walker Stalker Con contacted me on Etsy and wanted me to be in their show back in 2015, and I
Right, when
just
it
was
first
whipping
started.
out like looking, yeah, like the Maggie and Glenn and the Michonne with the governor on the sword, and like with Gareth beheaded and all that. I did all in like 3 weeks. I was working on it constantly, to get ready for that con. So that's how I
Wow.
got started. That's why I have so much Walking Dead art.
Right. The one thing I will tell you, the one thing that I really appreciate about you that I've asked this of other artists. Hi, Sean. Mwah. That's one of my admins. She was really
Hi.
hoping that you would show up to the London Walker Stalker, and I know that you plan on trying to do that next year. The one thing
Yeah,
that
I want. That'd be nice to do.
it was really, it seemed like it was a big con. I think you would like sell out immediately. The one thing I really, really appreciate about you, and I want you to know this, is that a lot of the other artists seem to pick The Walking Dead at the moment because it's the hot show. It's something that's very popular, so they know that they're going to be able to cash in on it. But they don't do all of the characters. And the one thing that I have really loved about your particular art, that the ones that you choose to do, is that you've done everybody. You haven't just singled out. Like I can go to your page and I can get a print of Beth. I can get a print of Maggie. You did the most gorgeous Michonne that I've seen yet, which is the purple one of her. And even though, and it's got where you blended her with the Star Wars theme, and I thought that was very clever. Um, but I really
Oh, thank
appreciate
you.
that about you, that you take and you try to get everyone, like you said, you have the one of Rick where he beheaded um, Gareth. Nobody has done that. So, you really set yourself apart. So why do you pick the ones that you do? Or is it because you're a fan?
Uh, well, I'm a fan, and also when I do collages, I try to put the characters from the season that I do. So I end up posting each face because when it's on the collage, you can't. It's not as detailed because it's small. So
Right.
I try to show each character I post after I'm done with each character, and then I put them together in a collage. So it ends up where you see Dale and you see
Yeah. Yeah.
Lori, and you'll see a younger Carl, and
Yeah.
so that's why I do that. So you'll see more. I'm actually going to start when I start doing season 3. You'll see Milton, remember the doctor, and
Oh, that's great.
Woodbury, and we've forgotten about him. So,
No, see,
and
but
I
I
wanted to put
that's
Jackie in season 1. I wanted to put her in season 1, but she wasn't in the rest of the episodes going into season 2. And then I wanted to put also Morgan in season 1, but he is only in a few minutes of the first episode. So
right.
things like that, I always have to think about, you know,
Right. And it's
because
funny,
he was in season 1.
like nobody's done Sophia. And like, I think that you do have one where you have Sophia in one of your collages, maybe. I'm pretty sure. But like,
Oh, I
so
do.
yeah, Sophia and her death was so significant in the show and how it changed the group. And people just bypass those characters. And I really appreciate that about you, that you pay attention to those. Like you said, Milton. Well, Milton had a significant part in that season. He was, he may have been a background character, but he was very significant. And so the fact that you offer those is what makes me another, such a fan of yours, because you're not just focused on what I can get everywhere else. Your art is very standalone. So
Yeah, thank you.
you're very welcome. The other question that I got in talking to some of the group members was, what is your favorite character? Easy question. Who is your favorite character on the show?
That's a tough one because there's so many, but I've always, ever since I was a kid, I always liked the main character of every show. Like the Captain Kirk was my
Right.
favorite, and it ends up being Rick Grimes, and so I always end up liking the main character. But Daryl, I've gotten more fond of since I've been watching the earlier episodes,
Right.
the other like season 1 and 2, and seeing him evolve into this nice guy. There was like this redneck and ended up being this nice guy.
With
I
a
thought
huge
that
heart.
was cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we talked about that a bit on Sunday, that the show does a great job of completely shattering anyone's chance of having a stereotype at all, because they take what you think someone's going to be and they go the opposite direction. So what you just said about Daryl is very true. You have this preconceived notion that he's going to be this person, and as you get to know him, he's completely different. One of the other things about your art that I really, really personally think is your best work is the black and white. And if I've tried to post some of your art a little earlier so people could see if they haven't yet been to your pages. But what is it about the black and white? Because you have it kind of like faded, but you focus in on the eyes and it makes it just pop right out. Like those pictures just capture my attention each time. So do you prefer doing black and white, or do you like the bright and bold colors?
well, I ended up doing the black and white because when I was living in San Diego when I was much younger, there was an artist that was doing that style with charcoal, and he was just spreading out the charcoal and erasing around it and putting definition on the eyes, like putting darker charcoal. And so when I started doing digital with the stylus, I was able to control it to where I could do what he was doing years ago. But I haven't seen that artist sell his stuff anymore. He used to sell them in shopping malls, and I just don't see it anymore. So that's why I do that's like a home homage, I guess you could say,
Homage to,
to
yeah.
his style. Yeah, I just don't. I never knew his
Very
name.
flattering. That's really flattering that you
Yeah,
saw something in it and it inspired you. Because I know that some of them, I mean,
no
like,
one else does it.
no, no. And that's another thing. See, you're kind of like proving my point. You step into those
Yeah,
areas that other artists just don't venture into, and that's what sets you apart for me. And the black and white I don't think you always need the bright and bold colors to get someone's attention. and the way that you do them, and you always something about the way you focus in on their eyes. I mean, when you put up the Ezekiel, I was like, oh my God, like your Ezekiel was gorgeous in the black and white. It was just gorgeous. So then I went and posted it on his page on Twitter. So I hope he got in touch with you or said something to you, because it was really great.
Yeah, he did. He did say, was it on it? Actually, Instagram. He did tag himself in it, or no, he commented on it. That's what he did.
Oh,
Because
that's
next thing
great.
you know, I saw a bunch of people like it, and it was
Yeah,
because he commented on
yeah,
it.
that
Yeah,
always gets
and
attention.
he was at Walker Stalker 2 weeks ago, and he was holding up a stuffed animal, Shiva. A bunch of people following him to go to his booth. He's a really cool guy.
He's
Yeah.
so out of the cast. Have you met most of them, or do you have a bucket list of one or two you haven't met yet that you would like to talk to?
I'd like to meet Andrew Lincoln and Norman Reedus. I did have Andrew J. West come to my table 2 years ago,
That
and he
picture's
wanted he
yeah.
yeah he was actually commenting on his head. He thought it was cool. Yeah, he's a really nice guy. And I also had the actress that played as Micah. I'm trying to remember her name, but she was there, and she actually bought a print from me, and I didn't recognize her until it was too late.
That it was her.
And then I had a picture with her, but I was like, "Is that Micah?"
Yeah,
Oh,
she's a
that's
great
happened, and
girl. I know that, and I'm sorry, I don't know why her name is escaping me right now because it never does. But the one that played the bunny girl, Summer, that she just endorsed your print, and I was so happy for you because
oh yeah,
yeah, that she finally saw
Addie
Addie.
Miller.
There you go, Addie Miller. I was really happy that that happened for you because for so long she's only endorsed the one picture that was done by another artist, and yours is of her as a walker, and yours is in more of a pastel kind of color scheme. And so for me, it's not. It kind of captures like that she's the walker, but it also makes you think like that's just a kid, that's just a little girl, and it's like those are the things I don't think you realize maybe, or maybe you do, and it's your intent. But when I look at your art, I notice these things. And so that's what's made me a fan, because it seems like you put in little details like that that I don't find in other ones. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
um, what con are you going to go to next?
Well, there's South City Comic Con in South San Francisco that I got in a couple months. I'm gonna be off next month, but in June I'm gonna do South San Francisco, and also Wizard World in Sacramento the following weekend. I also have San Francisco Comic Con here, and
So I went to
Heroes and Villains too.
in which one?
Heroes and Villains Fan Fest in December.
Right.
There's a few others. I was just like trying to remember.
The thing when you said Wizard World Sacramento, I went to that one 3 years ago, and I actually walked right. I saw you in Artist Alley, and it was right before I started the page, and I'm pretty sure that like I wanted to stop, and I can't remember why, but I
Oh, you
remember
were there, huh?
I
Oh,
was there.
wow.
Yeah. So when I started my page right after that, and so when I was going through stuff and I came across you on Facebook, I was like, I saw his table, because you're very good at displaying everything like it's an attention grabber, because you set it very high. So no matter where you're walking, you can be way at the end of the aisle, and it's like you can see Rob Gardner's booth over here. So you're great at the cons. What's been your favorite thing about this adventure and getting into going to the Comic Cons and getting into this type of art?
Oh, I was meeting people. I've made a lot of art friends, and we all talk to each other. We send private messages to each other and
Mm.
ask each other how the con is going. And I learn a lot by seeing their table or their booth. So it ends up, being a learning experience. And I think that the best part about it is I'm doing something I enjoy. Where my last job, I was miserable. I was a truck
Yeah.
driver, so I drove like 200 miles a day. So this is a lot more fun. So
And I imagine the freedom of it is nice, but like you said, like, I'm sure that like you get to meet such a wide variety of people. I mean, it must make you feel good to know that you're doing something that you love, and then the other
oh
people
yeah,
love it as well.
yeah, Lieutenant Uhura, Nichelle Nichols. I met her on last Saturday, and she gave me a kiss.
No.
And yeah, the drawing I did of her, and people were buying it, and she asked these people to where they got it, and then they told me I should go over there and see her. So I brought her one, and she got all happy and stuff, and she signed something for me, so it was pretty cool. Yeah,
Good.
so things like that wouldn't happen at my old job.
Right? Yeah, you never would. So some of the questions I
So
have one. It's one of my admins. They I'm not sure. It's probably Sean. She said, "How long have you been an artist?"
God, I was drawing when I was a little kid. My earliest memory was when I was like 5 or 6, drawing a picture of the $6 Million Man, and then the teachers would hang it up, or I draw Spider Man. They said I was drawing like an older person, so that's my earliest memory of doing art.
When they
So
told you that,
probably
did
before
you
that, but
understand what they said? When they tell you like you were drawing like that you have an old soul, did you get it then that maybe this was something you'd like to do later?
no, I didn't. I was too young. I remember thinking I was getting in trouble because they would send me to the principal with my art to show him, and I thought I was going to get in trouble, things
Yeah.
like that. I didn't understand, but it's been a long time. But there was a time in my life where I stopped. I didn't draw for years. Like I didn't draw anything. I didn't do any kind of art at all.
Really?
And those are times. Yeah, I was too busy. My father kind of discouraged me when I was younger too, so I would stop for a long time, and I wish I could get those times back because sometimes I find myself having to relearn some things because I
Right.
stopped for so long, off and on. You know.
Well, it's that old like don't be an actor, don't be a singer, don't be an artist because you're going to be hungry, you're going to be poor, and look at you now.
Yeah, yeah. I heard the artists are a dime a dozen. Sometimes I go to these cons, I feel like my father was right that there are a dime a dozen because there's so many of them. There's like hundreds at like WonderCon. There's literally hundreds of us there,
You
and
know,
but I try to be different though.
and you are. That's what I was going to say. Out of the hundreds that go, people are only going to put money into people that are doing something that touches them or speaks to them in some way. And I think that you're very good at that. So I think that
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Thank
you're
you.
very good at that. Sean said, "Does your son share your talent?"
Well, he's 8 right now, and no, when I was much younger when I was doing art, and he doesn't do what I was doing back then. That's so far. I mean, I see from what I remember as younger than him, he hasn't been drawing like I was doing. So far, I don't see it,
Let him be.
unfortunately.
Yeah, sometimes you want him to follow you, but then again, like, I mean, like, if your dad is Rob Gardner and, people are buying all his art, that would be a lot of pressure. So,
And another thing, he could care less about what I do. When I was his age, and
yeah.
I would just absorb art. Every time I saw like an art piece, I would be saying all kinds of things about it. He doesn't even care.
Yeah, he's
So, but he's different than I am, so which is fine.
yeah.
It's fine. He doesn't have to.
So where do you want to go? Where do you want this to take you? Like, what do you see as your dream? I know that you just recently have been able to do this full time. So what is your ultimate goal? Is it that you would just be able to continue doing this and making a nice life for yourself and your family, or would you like to go higher? Like, what is your ultimate goal?
Well, I don't really know how much more I can go, is because my son's 8 still, and when he gets older, maybe he could help me. But I mean, I would like to be able to make enough to purchase bigger booths and do more artwork, do bigger prints. Because when I have a bigger booth, I'm not going to always have 11 by 17. So
Right.
I'd like to be able to do that. But it's unlike my last job, the sky's the limit when you're self-employed in the art industry. It just depends on how popular you get, you know.
Right.
I know my buddy Scott Spillman. He's pretty up there, and he does a real talk to him a couple weeks ago at Walker Stalker. So he's able to get these bigger booths, and I still can. I get some booths that are big, not all the time. I can't do it at every con.
Sometimes that's
So
just being in the right place at the right time. So,
yeah,
I feature Scott Spillman. I feature him. I feature you. Scott Straka, when he does any walk, which is hit and miss. He doesn't do as
yeah.
many Walking Dead themes as you do. Ed Capoe. This new kid, I know he met you, Chris Arbietera. Have you seen his work? He said that he met
Uh,
you. He's a younger kid. I'm going to talk to him as soon as we get time. He
okay.
does,
That
he
sounds
does,
familiar. That name.
yeah, he was so excited he met you. Like he messaged me and said that he met you at the San Francisco con. And he does great big
Okay.
paintings. He's like a younger up and coming. So for someone like
Okay.
him or like Fiona, she's on right now and she won one of your prints. She's the one that lives in Wales. She said to tell you hi, and she said, I'm starting out as a film TV character artist, and I have my first con in July. So what advice do you have for her?
Well, I you that the advice I was given was to stand, like, look presentable, but after a while my feet were just hurting too much. but
I don't think anyone
but
cares. That's, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but
People walking
I
around
guess
in
to say hi,
cosplay.
yeah, greet everyone that comes to your table or booth. Which I'm shy. I'm still shy. I still get, like, where I feel like I'm gonna say something wrong to someone, so I have a hard time doing that. But I've gotten more out of my shell through the past 2.5 years since I've been doing. It's been almost about over 2 years since I've been doing this now, and it's actually helped me get more outgoing. So
Hmm.
that's what you got to do when you're at those tables. Also, presentation, and at a good spot too, because sometimes if you're in a bad spot, doesn't matter how good your art is, it's gonna really cause your sales to go down. If nobody can see it,
Right,
they're not gonna buy it. So, but
right.
yeah, that's the best advice I can give.
It's good advice. That's the see. I was expecting some. Most people will say, "Well, do this with your art, or do." But see, those are the solid. Make sure because I know just going to the cons myself. If I go to a table and then they ignore you, you just kind of you might have questions or you might not know. It might like for me, my first con, I didn't know how it worked. So when they're willing to talk to you for a second, that makes a big impact. So I think that's great advice. I think
Well,
that
I learned the difference between, like, when I was attendee at a con to
oh
compared to being an actual vendor or
right.
exhibitor at a con. It's like totally different. You're at this one spot for hours. You can't
Yeah.
really walk around. I do when I've people helping me, but I'll be able to walk around. But it's a big difference. You could see the con before it opened, covered, and it's quiet. It seems smaller, but when people start showing up, it's just all this energy starts happening.
Right.
So yeah, it's a
I
big
was going to ask
difference.
you about that. I'm glad you said energy because one of the things we've been talking about in the chats as we've been going along is like why I do what I do on my page, why the girls from Creepy and Cute do what they do, why you do it. Did you find the same result as we did that once you started talking to these Walking Dead fans, well, Comic-Con fans, I know that you already know, but once you get in that atmosphere and like meets like, there really is, like you said, that energy, and you start to make these friends that become like an extended family. Have you had that
Oh yeah.
experience?
Yeah. The more I do and the different kinds I do, like there's a difference between a Comic Con and a fan fest. Fan fest, you're going to draw a different crowd. A lot of people have never read a comic book in their life. Where Comic Cons are going to be more the nerdy type, the gamers, the ones that know everything about comic books.
Yeah,
You're going to get that. And it's like another one I'm doing on Halloween weekend is Famous Monsters Halloween Bash, and that's a fan fest, and that's when I have to start doing more monsters,
right.
old like Frankenstein and Wolfman and the Mummy. That kind of crowd starts reacting to that type of con.
So would you do like the genre as The Walking Dead, but do more of like Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, the type of the Living Zombies, that type of genre, those pictures for that type of for the horror fest?
Yeah, that is the type of place that you'll have Walking Dead fans, but you also have straight up Romero fans, that like the Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of
Right,
the Dead, Day of the Dead. Yeah. And then if I did someone like that famous zombie in Day of the Dead, which is Bob,
right.
the
Yeah, Bob.
military one. Yeah, that would probably do well because people go to those things that are into those vintage horror films.
Do you
So that
find that
just so happen to have zombie.
right, right. When you mentioned Wizard World, I found that for me was a more enjoyable experience going to like as a convention center event than the Comic Cons have become so large, and now I think that that's a problem running into for Walker Stalker as well. They're going into venues and they're not ready for to accommodate the crowds. And I remember distinctly at Wizard World in Sacramento that it was a much more relaxed atmosphere. And I enjoyed that one more than anyone I've been to because it wasn't overcrowded. It wasn't a lot of pushing. The lines weren't extremely long. Um, the way people wait to meet the guests, we didn't have that. Do you find that one venue is more hectic for you than the smaller venues? Do you have a preference?
Um, well, it depends on where they're like the venue they're having it at, like the actual building.
Mhm.
Walker Stalker over here will have it at the Fort Mason Center. It's a smaller venue, and the parking is so limited that I have to get up real early to get a parking space that's close,
Right.
or else I'm parking like a mile away, and I don't want to do that to go to work, because the parking is limited in San Francisco. But it's a good con. But there are some cons that have tougher areas to get to. They're further away or tougher. And, the parking's even tougher than Fort Mason Center. Yeah, there's some cons that are a little more difficult, that are tougher, that are more challenging. Yeah.
When they came here to Vegas, they had it at our convention center, and Vegas is like, you know, the queen of conventions. We have them all the time. I mean, we have CES and we have, so when they came, they had this great big venue, and it seemed like there weren't that many people because Vegas is used to accommodating. And so I remember that one as well. I mean, we literally walked right up to Stephen Yoon, no line. And it wasn't that the crowd was small. It's just that the venue was very, very large. And, so there was plenty of room for the artists. I didn't have to like wait or push through to see artist tables or none of that. So it seemed very peaceful and relaxing. Whereas some of them you go to and, I'm like, okay, I got to have a plan ready. I got to get to this booth at this time, and I got to make a beeline for that, for the back, because so-and-so is going to be back there. So I wondered if how the artists feel about that, because I'm sure going in and unloading and loading and doing your tables is, madness at times.
Well, yeah, it does get, it depends on what con you're doing. Me and my artist friends, I talk to them, and I hear a lot about like how like Vegas doesn't do well with Comic Cons and fan fests
They're
for
trying
some
to bring them
reason.
here, but yeah, they're trying to bring them here, and but the crowd isn't like when I went to Sacramento. You're right.
And that's what it is if you don't have, like, you were able to get up to Stephen Yoon quickly, where here it's hard, he's like crowded all the way up to the end. You're waiting in a line,
Right,
it's, and if the attendance is low, the sales are low. And so that's the only thing I hear about with Vegas is
right,
the Wizard World is not as heavily attended, just like what you're saying.
right.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's because Vegas is more centered on uh, conventions that are work related. Like
I think
the
it's more because
like
we're
for
known for business.
hairstylists and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When I heard it, I was born here. I live here, and I didn't even know it was coming. So they didn't. I think that they didn't promote it enough at that time to get the word out because so
yeah,
many people, like, we drove from here to San Diego to go to that, and I think that a lot of people would drive from California to Vegas if they knew there was going to be one here, because you can stay at the Bellagio for what we paid at the Quality Inn in San Diego. I mean, the prices are
yeah,
crazy. So, I mean, I think as the cons continue and you see these smaller ones branching out, it does open the door for
yeah.
more cities, because a lot of people that have been on the page have said they don't come close to me, and I just can't afford, to fly everywhere. So hopefully that'll branch out a bit more, and then artists like yourself will benefit from that, you know.
Yeah, 'cause I like Vegas. I haven't been in, God, it's been probably 10 years since I went. And I always like from an artistic perspective because it's so colorful. There's like lights, just everything is really cool. And there's a
Right.
lot of art there, a lot of art galleries and
My aunt owned
the
one.
art, yeah. So things like that, because I want to go back, but I'm waiting to hear about like a Wizard World coming back there and doing well, and then and then it'd be more worthwhile to travel.
Well, yeah, you
Um,
have to be able
yeah,
to profit from it, right? I
yeah,
think people have that misconception about Vegas. You come here and it's just gaming, and being a local. I always told my guests in the hotel, like, go off the strip, because we do have an entire section of town dedicated to art. That's all it is.
yeah.
It's
Mhm.
just the arts district, and that's all it is. And people don't realize that. And there's so much more to see. So I agree that, you know, I'm sure that lots of cities are like that. And if these cons would just give some of these other towns a chance, you know. But like you said, there has to be attendance, otherwise, it's not going to be worthwhile for you. So I haven't seen any other questions. Would you do us a favor and let everyone know where they can see your stuff and give out your where they can purchase your art? And I know, but they need to know.
Okay. Yeah, it's the Art of Gard .com. I have a website that's powered by Etsy. I'm Rob Gardner, but I go by Gard. because when I first started getting into digital art in the '90s, there was an artist named Keith Garvey, and he went by Garb's Graphics. So I said that I'd put my first four letters of my name to kind of pay homage to him. And but you'll see in there the description of my bio will say my name, but I do go by Gard. I sign my artwork Gard. So, but it's the artofgard.com.
Okay. And everyone knows I put it on there already that he's on Facebook. You can find him at the same address, and you're on Twitter as well, right? Because I've got you on Twitter, and it's
Yeah,
all on
I'm on Twitter. Yeah, and
right.
I'm on Etsy. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Pinterest. I'm on Tumblr too. So
I
yeah,
didn't know
it's
that. Okay.
yeah. Well, I post on Tumblr and then it automatically goes to Facebook, so I kind of kill two birds with one stone with that. So I use that so I could post quicker. So yeah, and there's a lot of people on Tumblr too
Right.
they're constantly looking at things.
I'm watching.
So yeah,
So
more than Facebook, yeah, and everything else. Because Twitter, I have to have the right person look at it and like it, and then it gets known, So
right, right. So before I let you go, please try and come to London next year because Fiona and I, that's Sean, Fiona and I are going. We've already booked our hotel and we're ready. So I've had a lot of people
wow.
asking about, yeah, London was very successful this year. They did not play around and Sean had never been. And I spent a couple months telling her, like, go to the con. You will not regret it. And she had a wonderful time. So there are people that ask me all the time if you're going to go. But I don't think they understand, like, taking all of your art and yourself and everything and getting there would be kind of, that's a lot of work.
Going through customs with it too.
Oh,
I hear war stories about that, about like artists losing their art from the customs not giving it back.
Or like
So
Scott Stillman, I mean, he shipped his, and then the venue refused the package. Did you hear about that?
yeah, he said that he
Yeah, so
only had 2/3 of his art or something,
they
and he had to
refused
figure
his
something
package.
out.
Like,
Yeah, that's crazy. But he looked like he had a good time. He had a lot of pictures, and that'd be something I'd like to do. I always wanted to go to Europe. I've read so much about Europe and England,
I
and
think
I'm
you have
watching the
experience.
show Vikings now. So
Are you going to do
I
Vikings?
want to check out England.
If you do Vikings, I'm going to
Yeah,
lose it.
yeah, that's why I'm watching the show.
Oh,
I got a lot of
so
requests
good.
for it from people, and I start watching the show. I don't do something unless I watch the show,
Yeah.
and I go back and forth. I'm working on a Spock piece right now, and then I go to watch the show, cut Spock, do the dishes, go watch the show, do Spock, go pick up my second. I'm like doing all these things.
Yeah. You would
Yeah.
have a lot. I mean, I'm a huge fan of that show. I've been watching it since the beginning. I would love to see what you do with it. So before I let you
Oh,
go, I want to ask you because this is something that's happening a lot. And I want an artist perspective because some people on the page think I'm a little, nuts when I post about protecting art. And it's because I come from an artist family. Like I said, my aunt, she's married to Danny Roberts, and she ran the art gallery with all of his art, and it was a lot about copyrights and trademarks and people taking your stuff and stealing it and posting it everywhere and profiting off of it. So I know that you've run into that. So I remember when you used to post your art, you were one of the first ones I saw with a nice big watermark right across the center of your page. And people always say, well, why does he put his name? So can you explain? Or did I do a good enough?
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, the watermark. It's good to put your name so when if people do steal it, there's a watermark that shows your name across it, not just a little signature at the bottom. But having with tchip.com was they were taking my art off the JPEG from the image and printing it on shirts with the watermark. So and
Yeah, they didn't
also
even
they
care.
yeah, they're like profiting off of something I was doing and not giving me anything. So feels kind of weird. It's see, we're all using intellectual property, but I'm actually drawing it, so
Right.
all they're doing is printing it. So it's not I don't work for them, you know.
Yeah, I think
So
people
it
get
does get
confused with the difference is that, well, the artist is like like you drew a picture of Glenn and Maggie that's very popular and it's very bright and I bet you it looks fantastic on a black t-shirt, because of the colors and stuff, and I get that. But I think people get misunderstood when they, hi Rhonda, when they say, like, well, aren't the artists doing the same thing? They drew a character, but no, it's different because that's your interpretation of that character and that's your actual intellectual property that they've taken from you. It's the
yeah,
same as,
'cause when you
yeah,
think about it, it's like I could put a different face on King Ezekiel. I could put a different face on Rick, and it wouldn't even be the Walking Dead. All it is the face that you're using.
right,
Sometimes like, I'll put like the name of the character at the bottom, which which would make it more risque, but um, it's still art that we're doing. Spillman, Straka, all these other guys, we're doing the art, and there's people that are not doing. They're taking it. They're not doing it.
exactly.
So I'm glad that you're bringing that to attention. I don't. People actually thinking you're crazy for doing that. I
Yeah,
don't
I've
understand.
gotten some messages. Yeah. And I get some pretty rough messages and I don't care because I come, like I said, I come from an artistic family and I understand when someone takes something that you've worked on and then they go and sell it and they have no right to that, or they take your idea and then they go, like my page was hacked 3 times by the same group and I had to keep changing my page name because everything I did, they copied it and they just repeated it. And it's like, be original, come up with your own. So I am very protective of you guys because I know that you're out there trying to make a living, doing something you're good at. I mean, obviously if they were good, they'd do their own, but they're not. They suck. And I don't care.
Yeah.
They suck,
Well,
so they gotta steal
people
yours.
like fan art, and these people know that people like fan art, and they're gonna, they know that people like to buy things they're familiar with. Like if you're a
Right,
Walking Dead fan, you're not gonna buy a picture of some butterfly someone drew. You're
right.
gonna draw a picture of someone drawing Rick Grimes or something, So that's the thing, and they know that, so they'll take it and say, "Hey, they're taking I intellectual property, so I'm going to use it." So they can't say anything, but I still say something because I'm the one sitting there for hours. They're
Right.
not,
Right.
no. So,
Yeah, well, you've seen my comments. I've gone off. I
yeah,
have one that
yeah, you're acting like you're the artist drawing,
I'm like, you don't have the right
which
to
is
do
good.
this.
Which is good because you're real passionate about it and stuff. And I don't see anything wrong with it. There's some people that get really upset. So I haven't even seen you get like that.
Not
So
yet. Not
yeah,
not unless you make me. I have a
yeah.
question. They said, will you do that? Will you branch into selling your merchandise on t-shirts? Because I know I would love to buy them. I love your stuff. So, and I mean,
Oh,
like,
I
all
do.
I wear is so.
Yeah, I actually posted them. I posted more. I've been kind of busy, so I've been forgetting to post it. But I have a distributor out of Texas that prints on my art on the shirts. And there's if you go on to theartofgard.com and click on apparel, you'll see all these shirts. I don't have every piece
Uh-huh.
on a shirt, but I do have some like I have Maggie and Glenn on one, and I have Wonder Woman, and yeah, I got a few still like Wolverines on there. I think there's another. Oh yeah, I got the nicknames of the four from The Walking Dead with the the
Ah,
samurai art.
raise your hand if that's the one
Yeah, I
you
got
picked. Because those are the ones,
yeah.
two of them picked that one. That's the one I should have
It's
kept.
24.99. Yeah, and it comes out of Texas.
Well, I'll get it on a shirt because I remember you sent me that for another contest and I gave it away, and I've been punching myself ever since. Um,
Yeah.
so, well, thank you because I did not know that, and so everyone go and make sure. Hi, Ted. Ted is he's seen me give away your
Hi.
stuff. He might have some too. Um, yeah, I didn't know that you were doing that, so that's good because that's another way to show off your art. If someone's walking around and they're wearing your art, it's good for you. It's good publicity.
Oh, we're getting stuck again.
Are we?
We're a little
Okay,
on the
one last
feed.
question.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? No, don't go away. Are you still there? We might have to have him sign back on. Don't leave. See if you can sign back on, Rob. Okay, let me know if you can still see me, and he'll try to sign back on. It's been pretty good so far. So make sure you guys go and give Rob lots of support, please. He's a great artist. You can see he's a great guy. He does this full time now for a living. So he deserves every ounce of success that he gets. I am a huge fan of his. That's one of the reasons why he was chosen to be the first one as a prize. You can see me? Okay. If I can't get him back on, then I'll go ahead and sign off. But please go to his sites. He has his Etsy shop, The Art of Gard. You can see all of his stuff. I wanted to ask him if he would do a collage of the cast members that have passed on. If you go and look at his pictures, he has some really, really nice ones where he did Herschel with angel wings and Beth with angel wings, Lori with angel wings. I think that would make a really gorgeous collage if he did like all the cast members that have passed on. So if we can't get him back, then we'll just have to all send him lots of love, go on his page and comment either on Rob Gardner or go to the Art of Gard, comment, let him know that you watched this and tell him thank you. Yes, he is, Sean. He's a great guy. He really is. And I love to support good people like that. They're deserving of all their success. So we got a good 45 minutes at least with him. So I'm very happy about that. We might have another broadcast later on tonight. I'm not sure. I'm going to double check, but it would be with Mark Brees. He is an extra on the show. He is a walker, and he was put in touch with me through Beth Brust, and I talked to him for a little bit yesterday, and he wanted to go online right then, but we wanted to give him some promotion, so we might be able to talk to him. If it's not tonight, it'll be tomorrow. I'll let you guys know, and then you can ask questions, what it's like to sit and get all that makeup put on, what it's like to be in the show. You can see him in the Horde when they took over Alexandria. He gets a machete right here in the head by Heath. It's pretty awesome. So we're going to try to talk to him later. I'm still trying to set up interviews that are convenient times with David and Paul from Real Guys Cosplay. And I'm pretty sure they're going to dress up for the interview, which I can't wait because I want to see Winslow. We're also still trying to get a decent time to talk to Chris Abitora. I just was in touch with Bradley Eagle from Walking Hope, which is a brilliant charity. It does a lot of good work for cancer through The Walking Dead. And I'm going to talk to him on Tuesday and see where we can go forward with that. So we have a lot coming up. So just watch the page, check back with us. And as always, I love you guys. Please leave comments and let us know what you think of these chats. And we can't make things better if we don't know. Okay, so thank you for watching. I love you guys. We're all infected.